Hello? All right, what kind of conflict are you having? Okay, neighbor dispute. Can you give me a little bit more information about that? Okay, a couple of different things it seems like. What was your name? Maggie Smith. Okay, Miss Smith, your conflict sounds like something that could benefit from mediation. Could I get some personal information from you before we continue any further? Okay. Your full name? Your address? And your phone number? And the best time to reach you at? Okay, normally mornings. All right. And email address? Okay, yahoo.com. All right. And what about some times or dates and times for mediation coming up within the next few weeks? Okay. Yeah, about 3. Okay, usually morning times. Okay, if you could give me 3 dates, that would be perfect to give us some options. Okay. Great, thank you. Do you have a number for Mr. Jones by chance? Okay, you do. Perfect. Okay, I have that written down. Okay, thank you, Ms. Smith, for that information. Before we go any further, I just want to ask you what you already know about mediation. Okay. Great. It seems like you have a good overview of what mediation is. I want to reiterate that mediation is a great option instead of litigation. So it allows you and the other disputant, in this case, Mr. Jones, your neighbor, to work together and come up with your own solution rather than going to court and letting the court decide what happens with your dispute. Okay. Yes, the process is entirely confidential. I actually have a confidentiality agreement that I will send to you via the email address that you gave me after this phone conversation. If you could look this form over and bring it back to our signed mediation date. Confidentiality is very important in the process to allow for productive conversation within the mediation session. Nothing that is said or written down during the mediation session is allowed to leave. Okay. Yeah, and one last thing. I think you mentioned it before, but do you have an attorney working with you? No? Okay, perfect. In regards to the fees for the session, I'll attempt to call Mr. Jones next, but do you believe splitting the cost of mediation would be feasible? Okay, I'll ask him. Usually the mediation is around 3 hours. If the session goes over, would you want to pay for extra time, or would you want to end the session directly at 3 hours? Yes, you can definitely play it by ear depending on how the mediation goes. I will call Mr. Jones right now and see if we can agree to a date. Then I will call you back and let you know. I'll send you the confidentiality agreement as well as an agreement to mediation form, probably within the next hour, depending on if I can get a hold of Mr. Jones. If you could read these thoroughly and bring them back to our first meeting. Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Hi, is this Mr. Jones? Hello, my name is Haley Swanson. I'm a mediator with Swanson Mediation Services. How are you doing today? Good. I received a call from Ms. Smith regarding a neighbor dispute between the two of you. Okay. Have you ever heard of mediation before? No? Okay. Would you let me explain? Sure? Okay. Mediation is a great way to work together and solve the problem that you guys are having. It's an alternative to litigation, which would mean going to court, each of you telling your side of the story, and then letting the judge decide the end result of your dispute. Mediation, yeah, it's correct. It allows both of you to collaborate together and come up with a solution that works for both of you. More of a win-win for both sides rather than a win-lose. Is this something you might be interested in regarding the dispute with Ms. Smith? Yes? Okay, perfect. Let me obtain some personal information from you if that's okay. Okay, I have your first name, Mr. Jones. What's your address? Okay, and is this phone number I called you on a good phone number to reach you at? It is? Okay. And then an email address for you. Okay. Do you have any intentions of obtaining an attorney? No? Okay, great. Ms. Smith gave me a list of dates that would work for her. Would you be willing to see if any of these dates work for you as well? She specified that morning hours work best for her. Oh, good. Morning works for you as well. Okay, so she gave me May 8th, May 10th, May 16th, anytime in the morning. Okay, May 16th? Perfect. Can we start at 8 o'clock? Great. Okay, now a couple last items regarding the fees. Ms. Smith is willing to split the cost of mediation with you. Would you be willing to share the fees? Yes, okay. Yeah, the mediation session is usually around 3 hours. You can agree to pay for extra time if the mediation runs over, or you can end the session. It is up to you. And yes, that's definitely something you can iron out during the mediation session. Okay. Yes, I have 2 forms I would like to email you. The first is an agreement to mediate form, which outlines the agreement and your commitment to the mediation. The second of the 2 forms is the confidentiality form. This form protects both me and you within the mediation session and ensures that no information that's talked about or written down is discussed outside of the mediation. Exactly, so that information can't be used against you in court if it happens to go to court proceedings. Okay, I will email both of these forms with you. If you could read them over carefully, sign them, and bring them to the mediation date, May 16th at 8 o'clock. Do you have any other questions? No? Okay, I'll see you in a few weeks, Mr. Jones. Hello, Ms. Smith? Yes, Mr. Jones agreed to a date if you have a pen and paper so you can write it down. Great. Okay, it's May 16th at 8 o'clock. Okay, and I just wanted to remind you I'll be emailing you those documents shortly. Okay, perfect. See you on May 16th. Good morning, Mrs. Smith and Mr. Jones. Welcome to mediation. My name is Haley Swanson. I just want to give you a little bit of information about myself. I've been working with Swanson's mediation services for about 10 years. So I've been a mediator for 10 years, received my master's degree from Cal State Dominguez Hills for conflict resolution, peace building, and negotiation. I specialize in mediation with first responders, but have experience with all types of mediation, including neighbor disputes, divorce mediation, family and marriage, as well as landlord-tenant disputes. I'm here today for the both of you and hope we can come to an agreement that both of you are happy with. Before we begin, did either of you have someone you wanted to bring into the mediation? No? No? Okay. And just to double check, neither of you have obtained an attorney since we last spoke? No? Okay, great. Before we begin, I asked both of you to bring the agreement to mediate form and the confidentiality form. Do both of you have these forms? Okay, and you have it signed? Great. Okay. I'd like to go over these forms just briefly to make sure you understand the importance of confidentiality. With the agreement to mediate form, both of you have agreed to be here together, which is actually the first step of mediation, so congratulations. The confidentiality form goes over the importance of information within the mediation. The beauty of the mediation is the ability to be able to talk freely without any reservations of retaliation in litigation. Mediation is a safe environment. Any information or topics talked about or written down within the mediation session will not be kept. The confidentiality agreement ensures you both understand the importance of keeping all information within the mediation. In addition to confidentiality, it protects me as the mediator from being subpoenaed in court if your conflict were to proceed to litigation. My hope is, Ms. Smith and Mr. Jones, that you'll be able to work together and utilize the tools within mediation to come up with your own solution, rather than resulting to a judge's ruling. Not only does mediation save money, it allows you both to work on your conflict together to find a win-win solution. I thank you both for being here today. If this information is understood and agreed by both of you, I will collect your forms from you now. Okay, before we begin, there's a few housekeeping items to take care of. First off, I mentioned in both of your phone calls, our mediation session will last approximately 3 hours. If more time is needed, I will leave it up to the both of you if you would like to continue with the mediation process. Now, I would like to remind each of you that I'm a mediator. I'm not a judge. I do not decide the resolution of your conflict. I'm here more of a guide and will remain impartial throughout the entire mediation. That's the beauty of mediation. This is your problem and your resolution. I'll make sure the conversation remains positive and productive. I will help you with identifying your problems, but not offer any suggestions. You are in charge of your own decision. If you feel that I'm not remaining impartial during any part of this mediation, please let me know and I will remove myself from the process. Yes, we start the mediation by allowing both of you to explain your side of the story. Each of you will have equal time to speak, usually about 5 minutes. We will then review the key issues and look for possible options. At any point, I may decide a caucus is necessary and we'll have a private meeting with each party. What I do with one party, I do with the other party. So if one party wants to speak with me in private, I will also speak with the other party in private. The information discussed during a caucus remains private, unless you have given me consent to share it with the other party. Finally, I have a few simple rules. The most important rule, and my number one main rule, is no interruptions. If you have a question or comment, please write it down on the paper and pen I have provided each of you. It is very important to allow each of you to speak without any interruptions. Save questions until the person is done speaking. In addition to that, no profanity, no yelling, or aggressive actions will be tolerated during the mediation. I will usually give an individual one chance to correct their behavior until I terminate the mediation. Breaks? Yeah, breaks are authorized at any time. If anyone needs to use the bathroom, have a snack, or needs to take a break to calm emotions down, please let me know. I will be taking notes throughout the entire mediation for my personal use with clarifying statements and questions. I will not discuss this mediation with anyone else unless I feel it would be beneficial for this mediation. If that becomes the case, I will ask the permission of each of you if I can talk about what we are discussing in our mediation with somebody else. Any agreement the both of you come up with today, we can write it down immediately. It will be up to you if you would like this agreement to be binding or non-binding. It can always be used informally as well. If an agreement is not achieved, both of you are free to pursue other options. Do both of you still agree to split the cost of the mediation? Perfect. The price for a 3-hour session is $500, so that would be $250 for each of you. I know this is a lot of information to take in all at once, but I promise this is the most you will hear me speaking during the entire process. Do either of you have any questions before we begin? Okay. Since Ms. Smith, you brought this dispute to the table, why don't you start by explaining why you brought this dispute to us?